Welcome to part two for the MSP series. I'm Fernando Leon with the MSP Corner, and today Gregory Morowitz is joining us to discuss his strategy and his processes and policies on building a low maintenance environment. And we're going to kick this off. Get your notepads ready. All right. So, real quick, short summary on the MSP Corner platform. Why did we develop this business? Why did we develop a platform? Well, a lot of you guys need to learn how to sell value, not technology. Many of you are stuck in that pattern. You got to get out of it. You got to stand out above the competition. The competition is stiff. You guys need to learn how to position yourself as a value-added partner, as a authority, and that will help you close more business. Now, marketing. A lot of you have challenges with marketing. So, we're going to share what works for us, what you guys should be doing, if it makes sense, because there's lots of marketing strategies out there, and there's some that are inexpensive, and there's some that are very expensive. But this all comes down to goals and what your budgets are. So, get ready to listen in on those webinars because we've got a lot to share regarding marketing, whether it's online marketing and on LinkedIn, PPC, SEO, ChatGPT. There's so much for you guys. There's so many options for you guys to start generating opportunities. So, plus we have a webinar coming up on one of our vendors that is going to be pitching you guys on how to generate leads and with their tools. So tune in for that. Scaling. Some of you are walking away from opportunities, and we want to provide you guys with resources and vendors that will help you scale. And we'll be talking about how we do that at Single Point of Contact. But there'll be plenty of resources and vendors for you guys to talk to, and we'll get all of that connected real soon. Templates. Some of you guys lack a lot of uh, properly configured contracts, statements of work, proposals. We have lots of templates for you, plus the collateral, right? You guys need collateral to share with your prospects. It gives them a comprehensive overview on what you guys have to offer. We've got a lot of data coming your way, so stay tuned. So we're going to kick this off with Gregory sharing his experience, his knowledge on what it takes to build a low maintenance environment. So, Gregory, you're on. Kick it off.
Yeah, hi. One of the most important parts of your IT environment is that try to standardize your brand, and what does that mean is that you have one throat to choke, one place to go for your support needs for your equipment. So you want to maybe get Dell hardware, all the same model computers, and why is that? It's because usually when you have a problem, it is replicatable across all of the other machines, or it may affect all the machines, and you might not think that that's a bad thing, but actually it's a good thing because once you solve that problem, you solve it for all of the computers. Not that if you have HP, Lenovo, Dell, Acer, all these different computers, they all start having different problems. And now you have 20, 30 different solutions versus one or two. And then all of your support contracts probably are going to be renewable from one vendor. You don't have to sit there and spend time renewing warranties and support contracts. So you want to really standardize on one brand of computer, probably one model. And same really goes for the server environment as well. That it goes across all Wi-Fi routers, firewalls, switches. You want to really keep your choices low because when something goes wrong, you can fix it and you fix it across all of them at once.
So, your so your best practice is to keep all clients standardized, right? Not just one specific organization or one
Yeah,
industry. It's like every single industry you come across, you're like, okay, we're going to standardize. Do you select specific hardware for specific industries, or is this
yeah.
across?
You
Yeah,
want to stick with the computers that are chosen in this industry for commercial use. There are like computers you could choose in this industry for home use, and the home use computers, they do not produce as many spare parts for those computers, so that when those computers hit end of life, they stop making the spare parts. They don't do that for the other brands, for your commercial ones. They'll keep spare parts and they'll keep support going for a lot longer. And you'll know you won't be in a Safeway parking lot looking for a chassis for a laptop or a hard drive bay for a laptop. You'll just get it directly from the from your vendor, because they'll keep support going for equipment much longer than for home devices.
gotcha. All right, all right.
So the next one is automation. So everything you do on a repeated basis, anybody who does something on a repetitive basis, you want to automate it. You want to try to make it like it was scripted, or that you have an engine where you can just press one button and everything moving forward is done. And this can be achieved through RMM, MDM, and scripting, and all in Linux, and all these different kinds of things. You want to really make it so that you can recover quickly, or you can provision things quickly. So if you have a server in the cloud and it goes down, you want to have your systems be able to not only detect it, but to spin up a new instance possibly of that server, and take over within seconds, where you're only getting notified about it happening. You're not actually having to do anything about it. So that can take a bit of time, but the amount of time you put up front on that is going to be saved a hundredfold on the back end. Where if you have a server go down and you don't have to sit there and troubleshoot it for hours to try to get it back up, you just spin up a new server because you have a replication engine set up, and you're back in business within a few seconds, maybe even no outage at all. And you could then troubleshoot later as to what happened, or just move forward and reset your replication engine. And also, if you have an onboarding mechanism, you're going to want to make sure that if you have a new employee start, you create their identity in your identity engine, and then something from that point forward, like an automated engine like SSO type of thing, takes over, and you have the ability to provision, you know, 10, 15 applications all at once with SSO, and automate that process as well. So you don't have to sit there and create a user account in every single application over and over and over again. It all feeds off your identity matrix and your identity engine. You don't have to go ahead and spend a lot of time, hours onboarding a user and offboarding users. You just press one button. That saves you tons of time.
But a question on the spinning up of a script that spins up a server in the cloud. I mean, that's such a phenomenal type of technology, which is just, I mean, it's so innovative, right? Because when you had an on-premise infrastructure, you'd have to rebuild the environment or
Right.
restore it or whatever, right?
Right.
So the cloud provides that flexibility. Does the client have to absorb any costs when that happens? Because you got to spin up another server, the other server's down. What from a cost point perspective, what would you do you have any
No,
feedback on that?
no cost. This is for you. Usually, you talked about making some sort of fixed cost model, where you just provided support for, like, say someone's server environment. They're not expecting an extra bill if you're saying fixed cost to them. They're expecting it to be the same bill every month. So you, for your own good, you're going to want to create this automation environment so that you don't have any of your own internal costs to contend with. It'll all be resolved and you won't have to spend any money. So you're not spending any money on your team. They're not spending any extra money at the end of the month, because it's all happening automatically. This is the benefit of having an automation is that you can have as many problems as can occur in a month. You be get unlucky and still not have any incurred any extra expenses for that month, because everything that you have as a problem, you've come up with a solution for that requires little or no time on your part. So you don't have to
Interesting.
charge for it. They don't have to see a bill because they're not expecting one, and they probably are going to question it if you do. So yeah, you're setting up automation to make yourself profitable.
Excellent. Excellent.
So, things are going to happen in the wild out there, and companies are going to come up with patches and upgrades and updates that are going to counteract those bad things. um, you need to stay on top of this. If you do not stay on top of this, then you're going to suffer the consequences. You're going to get hit with ransomware. You're going to get hit with a virus. You're going to get hit with an exploit. You're going to possibly have to contend with the fallout of all those things that I just mentioned. So you want to protect yourself. You want to keep yourself updated, upgraded, and in the latest versions of things, so that you're protected from all those different bad actors. Um, those patch management tools can also run additional requests after patch, like a reboot, or clean defrag a computer's hard drive. In the old days, I know that Windows 11 and 10 auto defrag, so that doesn't need to be done anymore. But the point is there are end of patch scriptlets that you can run that will, after the script, you may require a reboot. After the script, you may require that drives are remapped. We do that all the time. We remap drives, as a because for some bizarre reason, after a reboot, sometimes drives go offline. Sometimes the communication with the domain controller is lost, and you lose the ability to access your drives. So we remap those things like that. If you automate that stuff, you're just never going to run into those problems anymore, and you're going to be able to recover from any kind of issue that a patch causes. Or and then sometimes patches don't work, and so you're going to want to run a report of what that was, and that'll maybe give you an idea of what's going on. Maybe a person's computer hard drive is full and you're trying to run patches. Well, patches aren't going to work on a full hard drive, so it's going to bounce back and say there's a problem. Well, that gives you the opportunity to act proactively. Go to that person and say, hey, can I see your computer for this morning? Can we work on it? And they're going to be sure. And then you're going to go in there and you're going to be like, why do you have 2,000 temp files or whatever, and maybe gives you an idea that the problem that might be coming up in the future is proactively resolved by the fact that you're constantly trying to improve the performance and the protection of a machine. So
Mhm.
that's good stuff. That'll be good, a good thing to do.
What about patch management for third-party software? Does that is that usually covered with the automate? Can automation tools like RMM keep third-party software patched? Because I know I've heard in conversations, we've had conversations about how there can be challenges with third-party software. How do you
Yeah, there is. There's definitely challenges with third-party software, because Microsoft lets you know every month that there's a change or an update. Mac lets you know, like the operating systems let you know pretty good, but iOS for Cisco, Juniper firewall patch or whatever, that doesn't let you know very often, or if you do, you'll have hundreds of these notices coming in, so from all these vendors. So it's very difficult, and it's difficult to know when you need to do some of these patches unless you read it. Some of the patches might be for things that you don't do. It may be, hey, look at this patch for this particular protocol on your firewall. And, you don't use that. You don't use those protocols, so you don't really need to run that patch. You could kind of wait for the next patch to come along. You got to pay attention. So it's definitely a daily, maybe weekly event where you go and look and see if the things you have are patchable. Now, some of the better stuff nowadays tell you that it needs to be patches, but you got to log in there to the server, the firewall, or the application, and it'll tell you, hey, there's an upgrade available. Um, and a lot of these legal softwares and these medical softwares, they come out with patches like every day.
Hmm.
in some events. So you're like, whoa, what do I do? I can't bring these systems down like every week. So you're gonna have to set up a maintenance window where you're kind of like going through all your critical devices and your applications, and you go through and you review it and you patch it. It's going to save you a lot of time in the future, but it does definitely actually have a time component to it that's going to drain you a little bit of time, but it's going to come out better on the other side.
Gotcha. All right.
So you want to put this into effect when, and it can be restrictive. So administrative rights, what we're talking about here is not giving people the ability to install applications on their machines. Where this might sound counterintuitive. Well, if I don't give Fernando the ability to install, an application on his machine, then he's going to come to me, and then I'm going to have to spend time with a ticket to install it. And why can't he just install it himself? Well, uh, that is completely valid, but what you're going to see is that if Fernando has the ability to install applications on his machine, he's going to be doing it. If it's malicious, if it's not, if it's good, if it's bad, he's going to see some app he likes on online and go, I want to install this. It's going to be malware. It's going to be, or he goes to a website, and the website tries to install it behind his back, not even him knowing it, but using his account. Well, that's all going to get blocked by the fact that you don't have administrative rights on your machine. So it protects you, highly protects you, but it also creates a window where you have to spend a little bit more time to save more time. So him not being able to install these bad apps and things that may be conflicting on his computer will give you a lot more time on your side.
All right. Policies and procedures. So there we go. Security policies. So what do you got to share about here, Gregory?
So yeah, security policies are something that is not a physical like the last things were, where we had automation and patch management. We set up a physical or a digital system that will go ahead and do things for us automatically or upon our request. Well, these things are more in your mind or mentally, or things that routines that you follow. These are not things that these are mental uh, versus physical or digital. So what do you do with your security policy? You're telling your users that they have to have certain password lengths, certain password aging, the different types of apps that you're allowing in your environment, your firewall, what kind of rules do you have, inbound and outbound. You may not allow Facebook, for instance, through going outbound or inbound through your firewall, and that could create issues within your organization. Your Wi-Fi password, your Wi-Fi might have two-factor, your Wi-Fi might be hidden. Um, how people travel, if they could take their laptop with them, if they're using a VDI, or if they're virtual desktop environment or something like that. So you're gonna have these policies that are going to restrict your customers, but it's going to do so that you have less support that you have to give. So you don't want to be draconian. You want to agree upon what these policies are with your customer, but you definitely want to create these, and these will help you reduce the amount of problems that are going to arise because you are going to ask that your customer not do these things.
Well, I think that I mean I obviously security is a huge concern for every company. And do you have any approaches you would like to share as far as like when you go talk to a CEO and say, look, do you position yourself as you're already a trusted advisor? What do you do you share past experiences so you influence them to agree with you to passwords are changed every, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever. You specific rules on the firewall, travel, right? Apps that can't be downloaded, have a draconian policy in place so they don't have problems, or at least minimize problems. Is
Well,
that
if you had someone changing their password every 3 weeks, you'd have a problem. But no, there are these things called industry standards. So
Okay.
what does that mean? It is something that all of our IT brethren have agreed upon as what we should do regarding these policies. So if you just Google it, if you ask another seasoned IT person, they'll tell you what you should be doing, and then your customer is to buy that into that. So for the most part, password changes are 90, 120 days. You don't want to do a passwords reset out 3 to 4 weeks. That would be a disaster. But if you did one for like every year or 2 years, that would all, or indefinite or never, that would also be a problem. So now 120 days is more like the industry standard. How do you figure out those things? You can look them up online, or you can ask another IT person that's been in the industry for quite a long time, or you might already know it just by common sense.
So
But
what policy do you have in place with our clients? What do you see as
industry
a
standard policies that they've agreed upon.
okay, okay, cool. All right. All right.
All right. Your disaster recovery policy. In the event of a disaster, you want to be able to have a plan and not make one up on the fly. If you have to make a plan up on the fly, it's gonna have problems because the customer is going to feel like you've come into the scenario unprepared. And when you come into a scenario unprepared as an IT person, you will lose your customer. If you come in not knowing things, you will lose your customer. Everyone in this at this point is looking to you for the solutions. So if everyone is always looking really for this to the CEO or the director of sales or the engineering director or even the HR director in some other situations for the answers, right? There's been trouble in our industry. All the other companies like ours are going out of business. You got to look to the CEO, and he's going, "Well, look, I have a plan. We're going to be okay. I have a plan. We're going to do the following three things, and we're going to stay. We're going to lead the industry from now on, or whatever." You look to these people, and they have to come. They're not going to just come up to you and go, "I don't really know what's going to happen." Because if they do that, you're going to look for a new job, right? You're going to be all, "Oh man, our CEO doesn't know to do. Yeah, here's my resume." Other
Hmm.
company. Um, Same thing goes for us. If something happens to the environment, which is the workhorse, it's like the horse of the company. Is the rider is different, the technology that runs the horse is different, all this other stuff, but the horse itself is you run the company. You are the engine that makes it go. So if that gets lost on you, then and you ignore it, and you're not ready in the event that the horse's leg goes lame, and you're like, "I don't know what we're going to do," then you're going to get terminated, and you're not going to even have the job, much less spend days, maybe weeks, trying to recover the company from an outage, like ransomware striking Oakland. They didn't have any solutions to perform for months, and their systems were down for months. They didn't have a plan. They had no plan, obviously, because if they had had a plan, it wouldn't have taken them months. And they're a laughing stock of the world, right? So, yeah, you want to have a policy that includes a plan. And again, where do you get these plans? They're online. They're templates for them online. You can buy them. I think you can buy them from MSP Corner, where if you use the template, you follow it. It gives you a step by step of what really you need to do at a high level to achieve your goals. So buy the templates, get the
Yes.
templates, and they'll
Yeah,
help you.
and you're right. We do have these templates in the MSP packet. So these guys that are starting out, or even established companies, they don't have them in place. So yeah, they'll get a lot of this information online. So thanks for sharing that portion there, Gregory.
All right, procedures. So, how do you bring up a person on? We talked about automating that process, but you got to discuss it as well, so that you cover all of the essential components of it. So, if you have a user that has to have Slack, you're going to want to be able to provision Slack. What does that take? Well, you have to invite the user once they're provisioned to also set up their two-factor. That can't be automated because you don't know what their phone is ahead of time, and you can't get the code from their phone automatically. They have to give it, so you're going to have to go through a process that onboards them to Slack. You can provision their account within Slack, but there's more steps that need to be taken. You need to describe what those steps are. You also probably need to inform the customer, okay, once we provision a new user in Slack, we're going to have to send this invite to them for them to configure their two-factor authentication. They're going to get an email in their email box, and they're going to have to follow the instructions in it. And here's what they need to do in that scenario. And some for like Duo or other things, you're going to have to give them step-by-step instructions, because the instructions for setting it up is not 1, 2, 3, easy peasy. So you're going to want to have procedures. What that will do, if you have a procedure for how to set up Slack, how to set up two-factor authentication, or how to set up Duo, you give the instructions to the end user. Maybe they're savvy enough to do it, and therefore you don't have a support ticket. But if they weren't, and they got this email, they would just not do it, and then they would complain to their boss and say, I got this email, I don't know what it says or what it's for, I have no idea. And so they're going to ignore it, and they're going to come back to you and say, okay, can you help Fernando set up his two-factor or set up his Duo? He doesn't know what to do. And then you just have to go through the instructions you made for yourself anyway, or you're going to have to, stumble through it using your knowledge, which makes you look bad anyway. So come to the table, come to the party with a procedure. If you have a baseline of what kind of computer you guys stock, it's going to cut down on someone custom ordering something behind your back. You're going to say, look, here we go. This is what we support. This Dell Optiplex, whatever, with 8 gigs of RAM, this processor, this operating system, and this and that and the other thing. If they want to know what to buy, they know that they need to buy that. So that keeps you going on your standardization, or you place the order for those. But the customer only has a limited selection. But you have an executive model that they could travel with, a laptop. You have an engineer model, maybe that has a graphics card for the engineers or whatever, but you have that all done up front, so no one has to sit there and go, what are we going to do, what are we going to buy, what do you suggest? And you're like, no, all that's done. We have a baseline procedure for equipment, and on. So procedures can go to anything, again, that's going to take up your time. Anything you see taking up a chunk of your time, you're going to make a procedure for it. And that will mean that it may take time still, but not as much. And it makes you look way better in front of the customer's eyes when you're like, I'm ready. If they go, okay, what's the procedure for testing out these particular application? This is my process. This is what I do. Oh, wow, that's great. Let me look at it. And then they're going to look at you now as an industry person. Like, they're going to look at you with what Fernando refers to as a person who can offer value, because without you, they would never have had that document. They would never have been able to go forward.
Nice, nice. Yeah, you definitely want to be always prepared, and having policies, procedures, processes is definitely going to give you a leg up over your competition if they don't have those policies and procedures in place, because you can easily discuss them and provide that very valuable information to prospective clients. So yeah, I agree. That's awesome. But well, I appreciate you making time for us, Gregory. And again, for those that haven't joined the MSP Corner, I'm gonna you can go to mspcorner.com/memberships, sign up. You'll get alerts of new documents being added to the platform, videos, podcasts. We'll have lots of data for you guys. So thanks again for joining. We'll talk to you soon.
I also want to put in a plug for our template stack. We have a documentation area on the website where you can purchase the templates that we just talked about, that help you along, and you can just buy those and download them.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge help for a lot of these firms that are still, they're starting out and
Right.
they need this type of guidance. And I think that, they don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already there. It's like, there you go.
Right.
So, yeah,
Agreed.
great. Great. All right. Thanks again. That's the end of the show.